To do it, I would like really like have my notes and all my shit together. I'm actually on a walk, but I'm gonna fuck with your brain a little bit.
All right, let's see. Well, I gotta ask you the same question I ask everybody. What's your name, age, and pronouns?
My name is Jovan Bradley. I'm a man. You could call me he.
I knew that was coming. I knew that shit was coming. Chat, you want to know how simple it is to know his birthday? It's because our birthdays are like, what are we, like 5 days apart?
5 days. Because our father's a man.
Because our father's a piece of shit. Anyway, pick my brain, Shaw. Go nuts.
So I kind of want to talk about along the lines and topic of pro-choice and whatever alternative there is to that.
Okay.
Not so much of where I stand as far as the topic goes. But here's an idea, right? A woman gets pregnant, assumingly with a man, a human who can produce sperm.
Okay.
And
I love the inclusivity there. Okay, a human that can produce sperm. Okay.
Right. Now, we're not talking about the method of conception. We're not talking about anybody who's being raped. We're not talking about whether this person wanted it or not. The fact of the matter is, a woman is pregnant by a man. Okay? Now, it's ultimately her decision whether or not she wants to keep that baby or not, right?
Yes, it would be the person who's pregnant's decision ultimately. Yep.
The person who is carrying the baby.
Yep. It would be their decision.
However, that baby has two parents.
Sure.
Both of which have rights.
Sure.
To that baby, correct?
Once the baby is born, yeah.
See, that's where the issue becomes.
Well, if we're just talking about rights to the...
Why is it...
Well, yeah,
I'm not that you should have the answer to this, but I think there's a social dysfunction in that you only have rights to this baby, your DNA, once it's born.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's because legally it's only considered a human. Well, not a human. It's legally only considered a rights-bearing individual, like post-birth. Right? Like legally, like if you're just talking about your legal right to a child, that can't happen until after it's born. The government doesn't have any legal rights to the fetus prior to that.
The whole insertion of the term legal is part of the social dysfunction I'm referring to.
Yes,
because as soon as you're saying legally, now we're talking about the social dysfunction in it.
Wait, let me just confirm. You think that like, you think prior to birth that fathers, for instance, should still have some legal right to their children?
Absolutely, because take away all of the legalities, that's physically, biologically my entity. If you want to call it a human or not. And my thing is, if you want to say no, you'd only have your rights after it's born, then you should be able. You shouldn't be mandated those rights once it's born.
So let me ask you.
Here's where I'm getting to. Here's where I'm getting to. I think that in order to fix this social dysfunction, a woman, and then also to try to mitigate the issue of overpopulation, a woman should have the parental biological father's permission to either have or abort said child.
Great. There's quite a few things wrong with this. Number one, do you now agree then that child support should start from conception? So let's say I have, so you think like if I have, like, let's say I have somebody who like, the baby's just born, the child gets taken to child court, that man should now be owed, or the mother should now be owed 9 months of back child support pay.
Yes, 100%. I think because here's the thing. If you are going to say that I am obligated to pay any child support, it should absolutely start from the time that baby is conceived.
Cool.
I 100% agree with that. I think
Consistent
it's either
there,
all
at
or
least.
nothing. Don't tell me that this is my baby. I'm mandated to, or I have these obligations and rights, but it only starts once that baby's born. However, only a woman has the control of whether or not that baby's going to be born.
Well, yes, because the woman is the one carrying it. If I wanted to
But
go,
the woman
if I
wasn't
wanted
the
to
only
go,
person making it.
Sha, if I wanted to go to Disney World, like let's say I get a woman pregnant, and I want to go to Disney World, and I want to take my fetus with me, but not the mother. Can I do that?
Here, obviously, you cannot, Jovan. But here's the thing:
That's sort of the point.
if a woman gets pregnant, here's the thing: if a woman gets pregnant and she deems it's a mistake, she is the only person that has that authority in this current social dysfunction.
Because
do you think see that child to term or to not?
Do you think that a person should have the ultimate say about whether or not there are things inside of their body they want to be inside of their body? Like, should that be left up to the person? Or?
Here's my point, though. If that is ultimately your body, your decision, I can agree with that for sure. I can agree with that, because if the shoe was on the other foot, I wouldn't want to have a child than me. So I can agree with that. If that's your body, that's your choice. You want to do whatever you want to do, for sure. But now, if that is the case, and that's ultimately going to be the final say, then if a parental father does not sign that document or whatever that there should be in place to agree with the baby going full term, then they shouldn't be automatically indoctrined to any rights or obligations.
So you're saying that if a parental figure doesn't sign a document saying, yes, I want this baby to be born, they shouldn't be obligated to care for the baby. Like, if that's the case, just sign your parental rights away.
That doesn't alleviate you. That doesn't alleviate you from any.
If you fully sign your parental rights away, and I think it's almost every state, you sign away your right to child support. Are you trying to sign away the obligation of child support?
New York State is not one of those, if I'm not mistaken. However, it's more than just child support, though, is what I'm saying. It's to even, and everybody wants to fight for equality. I think that would be as close to equality as you can get. It's okay. I don't have ultimately the right to say whether or not I want this woman to go full term with this child. Now that the fetus is in this woman, she ultimately has that decision. However, I should be able to, at that point, say, look, I'm not for it, or I am for it, and I do support it. And I don't have to have any obligations for an unwanted baby. Just like she can abort the baby because it's an unwanted baby, I should be able to alleviate all my
but as long as
I
looked here, as long as there's not an existent child support obligation in place, signing away your parental rights does stop them from being able to come after you for child support. If you and the mother both sign away your rights as a parent, your rights are done. You have no legal ties to that child anymore. You have no obligations. You have no nothing.
And I may be ignorant to the specific laws in each individual state, and being to the fact that I only live in New York State, I really only pay attention to the states that govern, or the laws that govern the state that I live in. And if you can educate me on it, I would appreciate it. But I was only understanding that it was across the board. If you sign the birth certificate, then as well, even if not, you have this obligation if that's genetically your
yes, we have
child.
You have legal obligations to the children, and that's to protect women and children, like in terms of financial, because we understand that it's kind of difficult to raise a kid when you're a single parent in the country. So we create legal obligations to help that. The problem here is comparing, saying that, hey, what this person's body might go through for 9 months is very similar to what like my wallet might go through for 18 years. And I just don't think they're comparable. If we want to say, hey, we need a system where you as a parent can sign your rights away at any time and it really removes all of it, sure. But that's a different conversation. We're not arguing about abortion at that point. We're arguing about financial obligation to children.
It's not solely the financial obligation, though. As a morally and ethically sound human being, you wouldn't want to have your DNA, your child, being entered into this world and now have to face a world without a father because you didn't want a family with the woman that you got pregnant. So it isn't just the financial obligation.
So then maybe everybody should have an abortion unless you don't want it, unless you like it just seems like you're saying that like, what's the outcome here? Would it be that everybody should be forced to abort because men shouldn't want children in there that they don't have access to? Like, what's the?
I think the end goal would be that just as much as if it's a consensual, and like I said, every circumstance is different. Every pregnancy is different, and that kind of leads you into it's a consent. But I'm speaking about both woman and man are agreeing to have sex, and that's the causation of this.
Do you see an issue? Do you see an issue though with saying that in order to get an abortion, a woman's got to get the consent of the father? You don't see any issues, like societal issues that could lead to?
Well, I mean, in order to have sex, you have to have consent to consenting people, or otherwise it's illegal.
Sure, but do you know how often you can't prove that somebody was raped? It's pretty often. So, like, let's say we have a married couple and the husband. But wait, let's say we have a married couple and the husband habitually rapes the wife. She doesn't want to, but she doesn't really have an out because of violence and whatnot, and she gets pregnant. Some women will get an abortion because they don't want to be tied to that person through a child and stuff like that. Now we're saying not only can she not get it, but she would have to inform the man who's been habitually raping her that she is pregnant in order to get his permission, which he's definitely not going to give her.
No, I would say that there would have to be 2 green lights. If there's not 2 green lights, it shouldn't go.
So then she's stuck.
Is my point.
So this would make
she wouldn't be stuck because in your scenario, she doesn't want the baby, so she's not given the green light.
She's not giving the green light for what?
To have that baby. She doesn't want that baby, so she's going to go and have an abortion. Unless there's 2. My thing is saying, obviously, if a woman wants to keep a baby, it's her body. She's like I said, she ultimately has that decision making authority.
So then you're saying she doesn't need the permission of the father to have the abortion.
No, I'm saying right. So I'm saying that because that's what I'm saying. Because that's how it is, and that's how society is. It's almost like if there's any negative whatsoever, then like if she says no, I don't want it, she gets to have the abortion. If he says no, I don't want it, she kind of has to get the abortion.
Wait. So you're arguing that. Wait. So hold on. So now what you're saying is that men should be able to force women into abortions.
I'm saying in order to have to bring a human into this world, there should be both consenting parents for that child to be born. Just like there should be 2 consenting adults to be having sex, I agree that there should be 2 consenting adults to agree to see a full.
So basically, no one's allowed to give birth unless both parents agree to give birth to the child.
Agreed. Yep, that's where we're at.
So we would force women into abortion procedures. What happens if like the dad's like, yeah, I want to bring the child in, and then like 20 weeks in, he's like, no, never mind, I changed my mind.
No, you already signed the paper. That's it. Now you're legally forced to on both obligations of that. You've already got to say you signed your life away at that point.
So we're saying that okay, I'll take it even further. We're saying that a woman cannot change her mind if she's gotten pregnant. If she says, I want the baby now, she cannot change her mind within the entirety of the 9 months that she's 10 months that she's pregnant.
Here's the deadline. Whatever deadline that they have that they deem you can't go back and have the abortion, that's when you need those two signatures, those two agreements from both the proven biological father and obviously the biological mother that they're going to have this baby.
Okay, so there would be a deadline, like let's say like 24 weeks. Okay, so we say there's a 24-week deadline, and if you don't both agree by those 24 weeks, that's when the abortion has to happen. Is prior to that.
Yes. Yep.
So a man can agree.
So I'm not sure what the no, go ahead.
Well, because a man can agree in the first week of pregnancy, but at week 23 go, I don't agree. And then what happens? The government straps the woman down and forces her to have an abortion? Or how do we do this? How do we do that? How do we implement this practically? What if she doesn't want to do the abortion? Do we sedate her and then
she goes to jail?
She goes to jail.
We think the baby we killed anyway. She goes to jail.
So we strap her down.
It's illegal at that point.
We strap her down. We kill the baby, and then we throw her in prison.
Well, maybe we can rectify it with some fines if we end up tracking her down within a certain amount of time. Yeah, sure. We can figure out the punishment afterwards. We got to make the laws first. That's how they do it in America.
So, okay, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding here. Man and woman get together, have sex. In the first week, she finds out she's pregnant.
Consensually.
Sure, they consensually have sex. In the first week, they find out, oh, we're pregnant. They both go, this is great. This is what we want. Wonderful. 23 weeks go by. Let's say the woman does something that like devastates the relationship. The man's like, well, I don't want this baby with you anymore. It's before the deadline. You have to have an abortion because I no longer consent to having the baby. But she's like, no, I want this baby. She now becomes a fugitive of the state. If she refuses to go to the hospital to get that abortion, the state tracks her down, tases her because she refuses to come with them. They then get her, strap her to a hospital table. It's 23 weeks, so she's going to have a surgical abortion, typically. She gets forced into this surgery that kills the baby that she wants to keep. Then she gets thrown into prison because the government murdered her baby. Am I following?
As you tell the story, it's sounding as America as slavery. However, I would want it to be a little bit more humane. So, like I said, not every man is going to be ethically or morally sound, and they won't have that feeling of, oh, I have a baby in this world. That
how do you humanely
is biologically my son?
Wait, I just
no. So here's where I'm getting at.
Okay.
To try to make it more ethically and morally sound. If you don't get that baby or get that signature before that deadline, and you do decide to have your baby, that is when automatically that there's no consenting father. Nobody, whether you find out this person is through the DNA test that is the father, has any rights or obligations unless they voluntarily opt in for it.
I have an easier solution to this. Okay. Here's an easier solution. What if whenever a man is born, right? Whenever a male human being is born, what if we just give all of them vasectomies? And then when they're old enough to want to have kids, they can go and get their vasectomy reversed for free. This way, there are no children born to unwed mothers. There's no unwanted children born to mothers and fathers. There's no babies born. All males will have vasectomies.
That's not an idea.
That seems a bit more humane seems a bit more humane than tracking a woman down and strapping her to a table and forcing her to have an abortion, you know?
or she just has to deal with that baby on her own if there's not a consenting father. But I actually like your idea better. It's almost like how they almost not force, but they seems like that everyone's nudged into getting circumcised. It's almost the same thing.
Yeah, when we're doing a circumcision, we'll just also do a vasectomy.
Right. The only thing is you can't reverse it, so get your skin back unless they save it somewhere. But yeah, I actually like your idea. Let's lobby it.
I still think it's fucked up because it's forcing people into medical procedures, but it's better than holding women down and
forced us
forcing
into
abortions.
COVID vaccine, so
They didn't.
They did.
There wasn't a single place that didn't allow you to exempt and just do weekly testing.
For employers, there was, in order to have a job, which is essentially a way around forcing them. Either you're going to make money and stick with your job, or you have to get this. And we're not accepting, which they'll say, and they'll put the legalities in there, that if you have a religious exemption, but not all of those were.
The private businesses
kind of fucked up that they had to be religious.
Private businesses could dictate the way they wanted to run because they have the legal backing. All education institutions allowed you to have exemptions, not just for religious, but just for like conscience, exemptions for I don't want to do it, and they forced testing. Government jobs could say no exemptions because they're legally allowed to. But like, if you didn't like the company, if the company was bad because you believe they were forcing you to take a vaccine, you just don't take it and go work at another company. There are plenty of companies that didn't force vaccinations.
Well, they found a way to make that hard to find.
Did they?
Your average citizen is going to literally go dig through all of the damn law that they're putting in. You're going to go off of
there was no law. There was never a law about forcing vaccinations. There were policies put into place for government jobs, and some cities placed policies on businesses that said if you're over a certain amount, you need to either mandate vaccination or mandate testing. But they always had the testing caveat.
In the healthcare field, I will promise you it was not relayed.
I worked in the healthcare field during COVID. I worked in the healthcare field during COVID, and my coworker didn't get vaccinated. She just tested every day she came into work. She took a rapid test.
Yeah, because who the fuck wants to do that?
People that don't want to get vaccinated.
I mean, I'm right there because I didn't get vaccinated, but
crazy.
Were
you worried about the autism from the vax?
I was worried about not knowing any side effects from the vax because it was literally just made, and there's not enough trial time and sample size for you to actually know what the fuck this is going to do for us.
Okay, how much trial time and sample size did they have during the clinical trials of the mRNA COVID vaccine? What was the sample size?
With the amount of time, it couldn't have nearly been enough. And even with the sample size, the time is not going.
What was
the sample? I think the time is more so.
Size?
It's more of the factor that you can actually see the long-term effects. Okay, we know what's going on in a month. We know what's going on in 2 months. And even if the sample size was enough, we don't know what's going on down the road.
Wait, I'm asking you what was the length of the clinical trials and what was the sample size they used?
Like I said, I don't got my notes right here in front of me, so I can't give you an exact number.
Do you know It
wasn't in the hundreds of thousands.
Sure. Let me ask you a different question. Let me ask you a different question. When it comes to efficacy of vaccinations, what is the general sample size needed to prove efficacy?
That's a good question that I don't have the answer to.
Okay, so this is my problem. Is you're saying the sample size wasn't large enough and it wasn't gone over long enough, and then when I say, well, what's the actual sample size that typically shows efficacy? He's like, well, I don't know what that would be. So how do you know that the sample size wasn't large enough?
Here's my question then. In any of the trials that they do, it's not 100% success rate, is it?
Nothing is. It's medicine.
That's the issue. And if I deem that I don't feel comfortable with it, I have a gut feeling, I don't need the experimental exact numbers that they're giving.
Well, yeah, you do if you're saying
it
wasn't large
FDA
enough.
will tell you that something is within their guidelines to be deemed safe. However, that guideline doesn't mean that it's 100% safe or 100% healthy for you.
Yeah. So again, when we're looking at efficacy, the COVID-19 vaccines had large enough sample sizes to prove efficacy upwards of 90%, which is better than most things that come to market. And they were able to do this because they had a large sample size when they were doing clinical trials, and they went through all 3 phases of clinical trial testing. The thing that people are forgetting is the COVID vaccine didn't just come out of nowhere. It was a version of the, at least the mRNA vaccine. mRNA vaccines have been a thing since the 90s. We just had to create a variant of that for COVID, which is not as hard as people think it is. It's difficult, but it's not like a thing that's impossible. We put a lot of money into making sure it was possible. And then we had a vaccine that came out that was safe and effective at doing what it needed to do, which was lower rates of hospitalizations, which we saw. We saw the rates of hospitalizations drop rapidly once the vaccine rollout started. So I'm not understanding where the concern for the vaccine, for taking the vaccine, is coming from. When I took the vaccine, I've taken multiple boosters, never had a single bad thing happen to me from it. I would argue that, like, if you want to see how the vaccine's going to work for you, you got somebody with literally half your DNA that took it, and I'm fine. So what's if the issue is sample size and time, we've had that. So what would what's like?
Honestly, individually, the issue for me is, okay, I've had COVID. It was a walk in the park for me. I wasn't bedridden or anything. So I'm not going to go and get, if anything, I have antibodies for it now. I think I'm good. I don't think I need.
Well, you don't have antibodies anymore.
I don't take the flu vaccine. I don't take any of the vaccines that they offer. The ones that I had as a child where I was supposed to get, yeah, sure, I took them. But I think as a human being, especially as a Puerto Rican and a person who uses more herbal substances and remedies for any type of sicknesses, I think I'll be all right.
So you don't like chemicals to begin with. Like if there's chemicals in, like if there's like, because I know you're health conscious. So if there's like chemicals in your food and shit, in your water and shit, you're not a fan of that, right, Sha?
There's some things that you can't get away from. If you'll go crazy if you try to eliminate every single toxin from your body. So, and especially if you're consuming anything that was man-made, even things that aren't man-made. You can go to a spring water and you're going to find toxins in there as well coming from the air. So I'm very conscious of the fact that it's something that's you can't 100% get away from. But what is in my power, I can have control over. I would try and attempt to mitigate the toxin exposure.
What are some like if I name some things in food, like, would you tell me some stuff that you're like not a fan of?
Obviously, like aspartame and some of those artificial sugars.
Yeah, my doctor told me not to drink stuff with aspartame. Right. What do you feel about how do you feel about like red 40, yellow 5, things like that?
I'm not really I'm not a fan of them. I think that anything that's not coming directly from the earth or processed in the most minimal form, there's a lot of things that are like modified or just stuff that's going through too many factories and through too many processes to come up with. I try to stay away from single ingredient things. I stick with.
So I would assume
But,
you're
like,
are you
a lot of the stuff, if I don't know what it is, I'm probably not going to ingest it.
okay?
If I
Are you
see, if I look at the back
pro
of the
or
label and
against? Are you for or against dihydrogen monoxide?
I don't. There's I don't think that's something that I feel like I have to be pro or anti. If I see it, I'm not going to stay away from it. It's a biological thing.
Okay, you would eat like you would drink like stuff that's got like massive amounts of dihydrogen monoxide in it, and you'd be okay with that.
It depends. Well, I don't. What's a massive amount?
I mean, there's a there's a fuck ton in vitamin water, for example. I think vitamin water is like I think it's like 95% of vitamin water is dihydrogen monoxide.
I don't drink vitamin water, so I don't have to worry about that.
What about like, yeah, 99.5% of vitamin water contains dihydrogen monoxide in it.
Interesting.
It's in most food too. For an example of it is like dihydrogen monoxide will literally kill you if you inhale it.
Yeah. And it's something that you don't know because it's colorless and odorless. So
it's definitely colorless. It's definitely odorless. Yeah.
That's why you try to stick and stay as low as possible on the ingredient list when you look at them. And I'm saying, eat plants, veggies, simple meats.
It's in vegetables. At least the ones you get from the store. Like, for example, carrots have like 88% dihydrogen monoxide if you get carrots from like Walmart or something.
What's the threshold to where it actually becomes toxic?
It just depends on how much you ingest. Too much of it will like forcibly stretch out your bladder. It will cause your skin to like get like looser. Right. If you are like, it can do a lot. It can cause cancer.
I'm sure I'm sure the exposure would have to be very prolongated. And
yeah, if you're like in like let's say for instance I could create a bathtub and fill that bathtub with dihydrogen monoxide. If you're in it for too long, your body will start to like your skin will start to shrivel up and stuff.
And here's the thing: who's going to voluntarily do things like that?
To bathe in dihydrogen monoxide?
Yeah,
most people, because it's water.
I mean, I don't sit in water. So first of all, that's not that's gross to me. Bathing in just
okay.
Sitting in
well, you shower in it.
Again, the exposure time. If I live the rest of my life in a high toxic dihydrogen monoxide in a water in a pool, then maybe I'll be concerned.
Bro,
I'm going to continue to take continue to take my showers, drink my water with the amounts of it in it.
Brother, water is 100% dihydrogen monoxide. 100% of water is dihydrogen monoxide.
My point exactly. It's not something I'm concerned about.
Because it's just water, Shah.
You could die from water. Are you saying you can't die from water?
Shah, I'm saying dihydrogen monoxide is just water. It's two hydrogens, dihydrogen, two hydrogen, one oxygen. It's just water. It's just H2O. That's all it is.
Okay.
I was doing a bit. I get the bit. I get the joke. However, does the statement not remain true that you can die from dihydrogen monoxide?
You can ingest
Tons
too
of
much water and
tons
die.
of ways. Yeah, tons of ways you could die from water. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So it's a cool bit.
The bit is just shows that this there tends to be in humans this fear of chemicals when like everything is a chemical, as you said earlier, and we tend to not know anything about chemical structure unless we're like advanced chemists. So I just think a lot of this fear is like manufactured. It's not real.
Potentially, but if you look at an ingredient list, it's not going to say hydrogen monoxide. It's going to say water.
Yeah, I know that was the point. To use the chemical name of water makes water sound more dangerous than if we were just talking about water. Anything when you use a chemical name for it makes it sound worse.
I understand that because there's chlorine and things that would make you think, oh my gosh, there's chlorine in it, but based on whatever else is with it, it could be completely safe to ingest.
True. But chat really wants me to move on, Shah. Chat is itching for another caller.
All right, bro.
All right, everybody say goodbye to my older brother. I'm sure we'll get him to call in again and talk about if you ever wanna you want to tell me why Christianity is not the worst thing in the world. It's one of the things I talk about daily.
I ain't got enough time for that.
All right. We'll talk to you later, Shah.
All right.
He sounded so sad at the end of the call. Yes, that was my real brother. That was one of my real brothers, yes. What's up, everybody? Thanks for watching this video, and I want to give a special shout out to my YouTube members. Their names are on the side. Membership starts at $2.99 a month, and you get early access to videos, exclusive members-only videos, and access to the Red Mirror Media Discord server. Thank you again to my members, and thanks for watching.